Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So we were still discussing, remember, we're discussing the chapter on the Ahl al-Bayt, right? And then in that came the discussion of Yazid because he was instrumental, or he was in the killing of Hazrat Hussein radiallahu ta'ala. Then we done a detailed discussion of whether it is permissible to curse Yazid, etc. And we gave you all the opinion of Allama Alusi Baghdadi, and we gave you a lot of proofs. And then we told you that Jumhur ulama say that, okay, the best thing you can do is then rather than what? If you want to curse, we say you can't curse a person until you are certain, the Jumhur ulama. You can't curse a person until you are certain he died upon kufr. And we are not certain that Yazid died upon kufr. We are not certain Yazid died upon kufr. So we can't curse him. But what you can do is you can make a general curse, so to say, may Allah Ta'ala may Allah Ta'ala curse those people who killed Hussein radiallahu ta'ala no. No, not that, sorry. May Allah Ta'ala curse those people who are happy with the killing of Hussein, etc., etc., right? Then there was something else we mentioned just before we terminated yesterday, something very interesting, when there is still ikhtilaf between the ulama, whether a person is a kafir of a Muslim, then minimum we'll say such a person is a fasik, a fajr, right? And when there's ikhtilaf amongst the ulama, whether a person is a nabi or a non-nabi, right? Then minimum we'll say such a person is what? Minimum we say is a wali, right? So that was the last thing we discussed. So we almost finished with this discussion. We're going to move to the next hadith within a few minutes' time, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This last discussion, quite interesting discussion also here, that we know as Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala was a great sahabi, right? And he was the brother-in-law of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he was katib wahi, he was a scribe of wahi, etc., right? So the question comes about that if he was appointed by his father, who was a great sahabi, if he was appointed by his father, who was a great Sahaba, how is it then permissible for us to speak bad about him or to speak negative things about him, etc., when his father was a great Sahabi? So the answer to that is pretty simple. We say, look here, there were many great Anbiya alayhimus salatu wa taslim, but the children were kafir. And the fact that the children were kafir, that is no stigma upon the father. Look at the son of Nuh alayhi salam. He was Canaan. He was a kafir. But does that, he didn't listen to Nuh alayhi salam. But does that make Nuh alayhi salam any of a lesser of a Nabi or anything? No. It could very well be that initially Yazid was a good person. He wasn't a bad person. And I mentioned to you before that according to some narrations, some riwayat, that Yazid was actually appointed with the mashura of some of the Sahaba Ikram, some of the Sahaba of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it could very well be that he was a good person initially, but afterwards he became bad. So what fault of Muawiyah is that? There's a riwayat in Bukhari Shareef where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam makes dua for those people who will take part in the battle of Qustantiniya, right? And Yazid was actually was part of one of those battles. So some people try to use this as an excuse not to say anything bad about Yazid. They see, Nabi also made dua for the people who took part in the battle of Qustantiniya, and Yazid was part of that army, etc. So we can't speak bad about him. So if those who say it is permissible, like we can see here, the author, the Shareef, the commentator of this kitab that we got in front of here, he, by now you might have caught up already, He's more inclined to the opinion that you can speak a bad about Yazid, right? He's more inclined to the opinion that you can speak a bad about Yazid. So he said that these people clap when a person remains firm. He doesn't waver after that, right? When a person remains firm and he doesn't waver after that. So if Yazid, even though he took part in the battle, but if he became corrupted after that, then this virtue still doesn't apply to him, right? So he says, look, let's say if somebody took part in this battle and then he became a murtad after that. What will we say? We say, no, because of the virtue that is mentioned in this hadith here, etc., we can't say anything bad about him. We won't do that. Are you with me? And according to some narrations, that when Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala who dispatched his army to Constantinople, Yazid was very reluctant. He didn't want to go. He made excuses not to go. He said he's ill, etc. And then, in fact, when the army had returned, he was rejoicing the fact that he did not be part of the army. He said, لست أبالي بما لاقت جموعهم بفرق دون من حمى ومن حوم إذا جلست على الأنماء متكئا بدير مروان عند أم كلثوم. So he said, like, I don't care what happened to the Mujahideen, right, at the place of Maqam Farqad, when I was sitting comfortably with my wife here, right? This was the first battle of Constantinople, the first attempt of the Muslims to, because remember, Nabi also mentioned in the hadith that Ni'mal Amr, Ni'mal Jaysh, what a wonderful army it will be that will conquer Constantinople, which is today Istanbul. So the first attempt to break this, to conquer Constantinople was made in time of was Muawiyah, and Yazid was allegedly part of that army. But I told you, yeah, it seems like going to some riwayat, he was part of it. But even if he was part of it, that doesn't exonerate him anyway, because if he became bad after that, what benefit is of that, right? And then the other thing I tell you is, according to some riwayat, he didn't go. His father forced him, but he didn't go. So, as like I told you, I mentioned to you, there's different things mentioned about Yazid. Some say you can curse him. Some say you can't curse him. Some say there's no, like he was a believer, and until you're not certain that somebody died upon kufr, you can't. Uh, until you're not certain that the person died upon kufr, etc., you can't curse him, etc. And I tell you, some ulama say if you really want to, then make a general curse. May Allah Ta'ala curse those people who were happy with the qatl, but this is the preferred view. So although here, I told you the sharih here of this kitab that I got off Mishkaat Shareef, and I told you also he quotes Al-Ama Alusi Baghdadi, the author of Ruh al-Ma'ani, the famous. They are inclined to the fact that you can curse, and they quote Imam Ahmad and the incident of Imam Ahmad at the beginning. But the preferred opinion of our ulama is that you shouldn't curse, and I gave you the reasoning that until you're not certain a person had died upon kufr, you can't curse him. And there's also a lot of other reasons. They say, what is, I think in Mufti Razaul Haq, in one of his shuruhat, either his Shara Aqidatul Tahawiyah, or you got another one, Badul Amali, which is the Aqidah book of Mullah Ali Qari. He also goes in detail there discussing that. And the end result is that what benefit is there in cursing them? If he did kill Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, or if he was happy, then that is between him and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What benefit is there for us to curse him, etc. Right? But so at the end of the day, this was obviously a very, very sad incident in the history of Islam. right? Either Yazid gave direct orders that Hussein radiallahu ta'ala will be killed, or either he only gave orders that as Hussein and his family be incapacitated. Allah ta'ala knows best. There are conflicting riwayat, right? But nevertheless, the fact that the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was killed, that is a sad, it is a blight on the history of Islam. Anyway, read the next hadith, inshallah. Okay, stop there. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa an al-Fadli. Narrating the authority of al-Fadl, right? Bint al-Harithi, the daughter of Harith. أنها دخلت على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Once she entered into the presence of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. فقالت يا رسول الله. She said, يا رسول الله, إني رأيت حلما منكرا. Really, I saw, like you can say, a scary dream. I saw like a nightmare, a laylat last night, right? Carry on. Right. So she said, so she told Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I saw a very, very scary dream. قال وما هو. So Nabi said, what is the scary dream you saw? قال إنها شديد. Ya Rasulullah, it is a very severe dream. قال وما هو. قالت رأيت, I saw أن قطعة من جسدك. I saw like a portion from your body. قطعت was cut ووضعت في حجري. What you got in your kitab there? Italy. I saw like a portion of your body was cut and for قطعت, I think حجر makes more sense. حجر is rock, ne? So حجر is lap. وبفتح what? بفتح الها. Huh? From, okay. So قطعت حجرة. Right, it was cut and it was put in my room. Just 1 second. But here also I see it translated as lap. So في حجري. فقال رسول الله أرأيت خيرا تلد فاطمة إن شاء الله تعالى غلاما يكون في حجرك. So she said, Nabi Sallallahu gave it. Yeah, so translated as lap, right? So Nabi Sallallahu translated this as the birth of a son. So he said, فقال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم رأيت خيرا. The dream what you saw is not a scary dream. It is a good dream that you saw a portion of me, that is Nabi Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being put into the وضعت في حجري, into my lap, يعني into the lap of al-Fadl. So he said رأيت خيرا, you saw good. تلد فاطمة إن شاء الله تعالى غلاما. My daughter Fatima رضي الله تعالى عنها, she will give birth to a ghulam, a boy. يكون في حجرك, and then he will be in your lap. In other words, you may be care for him also. You will be like a nanny, what you say, okay, right? Carry on. Right. So exactly like Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted, فولدت فاطمة الحسين. As Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha gave birth to Hussein, وكان في حجري, and also he was in my lap. In other words, I also look after him to spend time with me. وكان في حجري كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, like Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم mentioned exactly right. Carry on. فدخلت يوما. Okay, stop there. So then one day فدخلت يوما على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. One day I entered into the presence of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. فوضعته في حجري. I placed Hazrat Hussein into the lap of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like the grandfather must play with his child, right? ثم ثم كان مني التفات مني الالتفات. But مني التفات or التفات, what you got there? I got al-iltifat, which obviously is not correct. You can't have alif lam with the tanween. What you got there in your kitab? What is the alif lam on there? Right. Right. So ثم كان مني التفاتة. So then I just got like distracted for a moment. I turned away from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then all of a sudden I looked back. فإذا أين رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تهرقان الدموع. Then all of a sudden the two eyes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam تهرقان الدموع. It was welling up with tears. قالت, I said, فقلت يا نبي الله, I said, oh Nabi of Allah, بأبي أنت وأمي. Ya Allah, بأبي أنت وأمي. My mother and father be sacrificed for you. Right? Malaka, why all of a sudden you are crying? Why is your eyes welling up with this color? Atani Jibrailu. At this moment that you were looking away, Jibrail came to me. فأخبرني أن أمتي ستقتل ابني هذا. He informed me that my own ummah, right? Amri from my own ummah. So you see, this is also a proof to say that Yazid, if Yazid he was involved in the killing, that shows he's not a non-Muslim, because then he wouldn't be included in the ummah of Rasulullah, right? And it's the kaba'ir, it's a big sin. And no person commits a big sin doesn't come out of the fold of Islam. فأخبرني أن أمتي ستقتل ابني هذا. فقلت هذا, I said, this one here, like Hussein. قال نعم, yes, this one, Hussein. وأتاني بتربة من تربة حمراء. And he said, yes, he had come to me. أتى means he brought. أتاني, it brought to me بتربة من تربته حمراء, with some sand from his red sand. I don't know what he mean, that the way the blood would be spilled, that the blood of Hussein that was brought to Rasulullah in the life of Rasulullah already many years before the actual act happened, right? Hulman, the first one, father said, I saw Hulman. Hulman refers to a dream. And generally also, when it's not a very pleasant dream, when it's an unpleasant dream, then it's referred to Hulman, right? And then on top of that, you get a munkaran. Munkari means something which is disliked, something which is frowned upon. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنه شديد, قال إنه شديد. This is very like a severe thing. That's such a severe thing I can't even explain to you, because she didn't know the interpretation of the original, the first part of the dream, which was that as the Fatima radiallahu ta'ala will give birth, right? So Hijr, I told you, like a lap, and normally lap is representative of the upbringing. Lap is representative of upbringing. So this child here will be like, I'll also take care of this child. Did I told you this here? Then the next part, okay, so it was pretty simple today, that a child will be born, and I'll also play a role in the growing up of the child. ثم كانت مني التفات. I got distracted for a iltafata yaltafitu means to turn away, ne? Iltafata yaltafitu means to turn away. So for a moment I got distracted, my eyes turned away. And when I looked again at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, eyes were flowing. Oh, sorry, the tears were flowing from the eyes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just when he said, "Sataqtulu ibni." So I told you, I remember I mentioned to you earlier that the Sharih, the commentator of Mishkaat Shareef that I got here, He's got it in for Yazid. He didn't like Yazid. And he's of the opinion that Yazid gave the direct order that Abdul Hussein be killed. Like I told you, some of our ulama say, I did tell mention to you that Yazid only gave the order that he must be incapacitated and maybe his Khalifa or his henchman, they were over serious and they went overboard and they killed him. But anyway, here the Shah is saying that exactly like Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted, this played out. That Yazid gave the order. I told this opinion. I told you there are two opinions in the matter. He gave the order to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, the governor of Kufa, to kill Yazid. And the reason why he took the governor of another area, because he knew this person had a personal hate for Hazrat Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So here it's mentioned that Hazrat Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu with his 80 companions was made shaheed. That's all, like I mentioned earlier to you, this was definitely a stain. It was a blot or a blight on the beautiful history of Islam. That the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be killed by who is supposed to be part of this ummah, right? So poet says, ماذا تقولون? What are you going to answer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? إن قال الرسول لكم, if the Rasul says to you, ماذا فعلتم? What do you do? وأنتم آخر الأمم, you are the last ummah. بإترتي, what did you do with my family وأولادي and my children? بعد مفتقدي, after I was gone. منهم أسارى ومنهم ضرجوا بدم, from among them are those who you had taken as prisoners, that is the family, the remainder, the women and the children. And said, وَمِنْهُمْ ضَرَجُوا بِدَمٍ, some of them you had taken as prisoners, and وَمِنْهُمْ ضَرَجُوا بِدَمٍ, some of them you had colored them in blood. So how are you going to answer to the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Read the next riwayat. فيها دم. Okay. وعن ابن عباس narrated part of the Abbas said, أن قال said, رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيما يرى النائم. I saw long after Nabi passed away, long after Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, right? Just change it. Right. Long after Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, I saw, right? So you think, رأيت النبي, I saw Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that which a person is in his sleep. That was, I saw in a dream, right? What I saw in a dream. It was that one day, finished in Nari, in the middle, more or less the middle of midday time, right? I saw Nabi sallallahu as, right? Uh, disheveled, أخبر, أخبر means covered in dust. بيده قارورة, in his hand he had like a vial. What he had? A vial, right? بيده قارورة, دم, a vial of blood. فقلت بأبي أنت وأمي. I said, قسم by my بأبي, by my father and my mother. ما هذا? What is this, Ya Rasulullah? Remember, this is Ibn Abbas in a dream, speaking to the Nabi. So, ما هذا? What is this? قال هذا دم الحسين وأصحابه. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in the dream that in this little vial, arura, that is like a glass thing, is the blood of Hussein and his companions, right? Right, Damul Husaini wa ashabihi. And he says, Lam azal altaqituhu munhu al-yawma. I continued, iltaqata yaltaqitu, what it means to pick up, isn't it? Yeah, I gather. I was gathering. I continued gathering the blood. Lam azal altaqituhu munhu al-yawm, since the morning, right? وأفسي ذلك الوقت فأجد قتل ذلك الوقت. And if I estimate that time, then I will find that was the time of his killing. Who knows what this means here? فأحصي ذلك الوقت فأجد قتل ذلك الوقت فأجد قتل ذلك الوقت. What does that mean, Lukman? Who knows what that means then? You should tell me what that means. Anybody online, people know what it means. Can you tell us what does it mean? Anybody? What it means, you see, Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala was in Medina, right? And Hazrat Hussein was being killed on the place of Karbala, which is hundreds of miles away, right? Right. So obviously he didn't get the information. He didn't get the information exactly like how today, if he was being martyred, the information could be relayed again to us, right? Are you with me? So, so the information might have come days later. The information might have come days later that Al Hussein was martyred on this day at this place. So when the information came days later to Medina that Al Hussein was martyred on this place at this time, so Al Abbas is saying, if I think about it, then I will realize that when I saw that dream, that was the exact same time that Al Hussein was being martyred. Understood that? I work it out more or less that I saw, maybe somebody, I'll give you an example, on the 1st of June, right, on a Monday at about, I was resting maybe, at about 12 o'clock, I saw this dream when a vessel was moving with this vial of blood, right, perturbed, right, and then when the information came out later that Hussein radiallahu ta'ala was martyred, information came out later that Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu was martyred, and I can work out that the exact same time when I saw the dream, that is the actual time that the martyrdom took place. Are you with me? Are you with me? The see now. فأحصي ذلك الوقت. And if I estimate that time, right, when I saw the dream, ذلك الوقت, فأجد قتل ذلك, when I find that Hussein was killed at that exact time. You understood that? I tell you, التقط يلتقط. لم أزل ألتقط أجد. أجد. فلم أزل ألتقطه. I continued gathering the blood of Hussein and putting it into this vial, right? Okay, read the next riwayat. How you read it there? وأنه قال قال رسول أحب الله لما يغزوكم من نعمة. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Also narrated on the authority of Ibn Abbas. He said, وعن ابن عباس قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أحب الله لما يغزوكم من نعمة. Love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of what? لما يغزوكم, because of what has reached you, or what you have obtained it. لما يغزوكم, what it has reached you. لا يغزو, what it has reached you, right? لما يغزوكم من نعمة, from the favors. وحبوني لحب الله, and love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وحبوني لحب الله, because of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? وأحب أهل بيتي لحبي, and love the Ahl Bayt, that is my family. We discussed the different types of family before. لحبي, because of my love. So love them. So if you love me, then you love them. It's not possible that you can love me and you do not love them. رواه الترمذي. So we love the Ahl Bayt, we respect, we honor the Ahl Bayt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. غزا يغزو, رزق يرزقه, يرزقكم. You know that it's saying in Arabic, Al-Insanu Abdul Ihsani. Al-Insanu Abdul Ihsani. That man is a slave of a favor. If somebody does a favor to you, then you become a slave to that person. So we are the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the favors which Allah ta'ala showed upon us. That's it. We think, أحب الله لما يرزقكم من نعمته. يعني love Allah ta'ala, show reverence, show respect to Allah ta'ala. لما يرزقكم من نعمته, because of the favor that He showed upon you, right? Then وَحِبُّونِي لِحُبِّ اللَّهِ, and love me because of the life of that, because of the love that you have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because I am the Rasul of Allah ta'ala. I have been sent by Allah ta'ala. So you see, you have to love Allah ta'ala because of the favor that Allah ta'ala showed upon you, right? And then you have to love me because I'm been sent by Allah ta'ala. You see how I was building up. First, you have to love Allah ta'ala because He's your creator, He's your nourisher, He's your sustainer. He's the one who brought you into the dunya, so you have to love Allah ta'ala. And if you love Allah ta'ala, then naturally you have to love me also. Why you have to love me? Because I am the Rasul of Allah ta'ala. I've been sent to this dunya by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? This is saying, وَأَحِبُّونِي لِحُبِّ اللَّهِ. So if you love Allah ta'ala, you have to love me. You have to love me. وَأَحِبُّ أَهْلِ بَيْتِي لِحُبِّي. And if you love me, then you have to love my Ahl Bayt. It goes hand in hand. You understood that? Okay, I think the time was almost up and there's one revise left. Okay, let's stop there, inshallah. We'll switch over now to the Hidayah Sharif, inshallah.